Welcome to the Philantrepreneur Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd, designed to offer tips, strategies, and insights to empower nonprofits and entrepreneurs with sustainable win-win solutions. The Philantrepreneur Show is sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, building capacity through education and professional services.
Well, hello, everyone, and Happy New Year. This is Dr. Victoria Boyd, president of the Galaxy Group and editor of the Philantrepreneur Journal, and my dynamic co-host, Heidi Anderson, who is founder of Credit Cares and president of Electronic Commerce International. We are thrilled to bring you the Philantrepreneur Show, which airs every first and third Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I said Happy New Year because this is our first live show of the year, and we are starting off with a bang. If this is any indication of the year we're going to have, well, we need to fasten our seatbelts because this is going to be really an exciting journey. I'm so excited about all the guests we have lined up in the coming months, so some real dynamos. Heidi and I will be joined in just a few minutes by David Hancock. If you don't recognize that name, then shortly you'll learn why you need to have him on your need-to-know list. You know, we've talked about those lists that we need to have. So, Heidi, you know I'm an author, wrote The Wealthy Teacher, Answering the Question, What's Next? Have you ever thought of writing a book?
Well, actually, I have, Victoria. In fact, I've written a children's book, and it's kind of embarrassing because I actually met David at Author 101 in 2012, and I was still at the same spot with this book. I'm just really stuck on getting it illustrated. But it's a children's book called Sammy the Squirrel, and it's a really cute analogy about positive foster parenting and adoption. And I'm looking for that perfect illustrator, and any guidance anybody out there can give me, I'm totally open to. But as soon as it's published, all profits will go to programs for kids that are aging out of the foster care program. And I've also started a book about my spiritual journey that led me to create the Credit Cares division of my company and also my new foundation to foster empowerment. I had the pleasure, I was meeting David back in 2012, but I had no idea he was such a full entrepreneur. So why don't you tell us about him, a little bit more about him, Victoria?
Well, I'm sure our guest today, he can really answer any question, especially if you're thinking about being an author. Entrepreneurs like you and I, we need those resources, but sometimes we just need to get our story out. So maybe we can get him to share some trade secrets and really tell us the advantages, the value, and then the process involved in publishing a book, because he is the expert. He's the man, the go-to man, as I call it. And, of course, we have the whole social enterprise aspect because he is truly a philantrepreneur. So let's not delay a minute longer. I'm so excited to welcome David Hancock, founder of Morgan James Publishing. He's an author, business leader, philanthropist, and so much, much more. He is a true philanthropist. David, you have certainly walked in our shoes, more importantly, helped thousands of entrepreneurs reach their publishing dreams. Sort of tell us what inspired you to found Morgan James Publishing.
No, hello there. And man, I tell you what a privilege it is to be here. And I love that question because it's so not expected as far as the answer. So I'd love to share with you what inspired me. And it really was my first path as an author. Let me back up. I was a banker back in the 90s. Fat, dumb, and happy. Never imagined ever doing anything else. I know, right? The banking times was very good. They were paying us stupid money. It was crazy good times. And I was very successful, and I had nothing to complain about. Everything was going really, really well. But I am an entrepreneur at heart. I didn't necessarily really realize it at that point, but I was always eager to figure out ways of what could I do more? How could I be better at what I'm doing? How could I change more lives and reach more people and just really be a better guide for people with their banking needs? And again, that sounds a little funny now that I'm a publisher, but trust me, just stick with me.
Sure.
So I was eager to learn more, and I had a great boss who's still a friend of mine, but he put up with me. As a top producer, he paid for anything that I wanted. And I had really an unlimited ad budget. I could spend as much money and do whatever I wanted to generate sales and advertising and marketing. But none of it really worked as well as what I was just doing, as just being, just a unique individual. I was leveraging more of my time, my energy, and my imagination instead of the ad budget to get things done, developing relationships and creating value and giving back and all that kind of fun stuff. But I was eager to figure out what could I do more and make sure I wasn't leaving anything out. So I went to seminars. He paid for me to fly out to the seminars. I saw all the major players at the time, from Tom Hopkins to Todd Duncan to you name it. I saw him, and I'm a really good implementer. And I bought all their home study courses, and I bought books about the stuff, and all of it worked, but none of it really worked.
Oh dear.
I know, right? And like I said, I'm a really good implementer, so I did what was suggested. I paid attention. I learned. I hired some assistants. I fine-tuned some processes. I raised my fees. I did all the things that was being coached on me, but nothing really gave me that bolster in my career that I was looking for. Not that I knew exactly what I was looking for, because I didn't, but it wasn't until I discovered a book called Guerrilla Marketing. Now, Guerrilla Marketing was already in its third edition, had sold over 15 million copies, and I had never heard of it. And I had never heard of the author, but I resonated with the book. It was amazing. Guerrilla Marketing is all about, like I mentioned, just people leveraging their time, their energy, and their imagination to gain conventional goals, but doing the unconventional things to get there. And is authored by a guy named Jay Levinson. And to this date, I don't even remember how I got a copy of the book. I don't know if someone left it on my desk or if somebody gave it to me or if I stole it. I'm pretty sure I didn't steal it.
No, we won't say that.
No, we definitely won't say that.
Yeah.
But I got it, and I read it, and I realized, wow, I'm a gorilla, and just didn't know it. But in the book, Jay did one thing that was very, very powerful for me. He encouraged me as a reader to reach out to him for any help, advice, or guidance, or even as to hire him as a coach. So eventually I ended up hiring him as a coach, developed a rapport with him, and he coached me. And sure enough, I was doing all the things that I should and could do. And he eventually called me one of his favorite gorillas, which I'm very proud to say. But Jay said, I know, right? But Jay said, you're doing all the right things, but you've got to add one more thing to it. He said, this is the fun part. He said, if you wanted to charge more and negotiate less, well, duh, of course I did. And if you wanted to reach people that would never give you the time of day, and if you wanted the media to call you when something happened in your space, you've got to keep doing what you're doing because it's working, but you need to add one more thing to it. He said, you need to write a book yourself. And I literally laughed out loud. I just didn't get it. I just like, well, yeah, you're me, sure. I mean, I didn't finish college. I barely passed high school because I was too busy. Well, I won't say chasing my wife.
Having fun.
That's right. But he slowly, lovingly helped me understand, well, all these home study courses I've been buying were based on books. All these seminars I've been going to were based on books. All these books I was reading, well, they were books. So it hit me like a ton of books. Where's the drum? Okay.
Fun.
That's right. And I realized, okay, well, that makes sense. Well, so I figured, okay, I can write a book. So I ended up putting a book together. Did not realize that was a hard thing to do. And I ended up getting it published. Didn't realize that was a hard thing to do either. Very blessed. So he kind of guided me to flesh out an outline, and I had already had enough content. I figured the way I looked at it, if some knucklehead was going to listen to me for an hour, okay, I want to make sure I get these 8 to 10 points across. And I ended up writing an outline based on that. So I got the book done, and then I ended up getting it published by a New York house. And I don't even remember how many or if I ever got any rejection letters. It was just a very smooth process for me at that point. I was definitely clueless. But it was one of the worst experiences I had ever gone through. Oh. I literally did not enjoy it, and I'm a fun-loving person. But it worked. I got the book out, but they treated me. I got a little advance. I kind of struggled with the contract negotiations. I probably didn't get a great deal, but I got a little bit of advance. I got the book picked up, but I lost all the rights to the content, which is not unusual, I hear now, or I've learned since then. But then I just didn't have any input in the entire process. I was the least important person of the entire process, which I didn't necessarily like. And when they ended up giving me the book, I didn't even like it. Chapters 3, 7, and 9 weren't even mine. Now, fortunately, it was still good. I know,
wow.
But it was good stuff. I mean, but it just wasn't me. And I didn't even like the cover. The title was kind of irrelevant, and I didn't have any input with it whatsoever. but I still tried to leverage the book, just like Jay was teaching me, to grow my business as a banker. Now, even though I was a W-2 employee, my income was directly related to my activity, so you might as well call me an independent entrepreneur. But, it actually worked. I literally doubled my already six-figure income in less than 8 months, and the only thing I did different between then and the day after my book came out was have the book come out. Before, I was just a successful hustler. In a good way. Mm-hmm. The day after, I was a recognized authority. And sure enough, I doubled all my fees, and nobody wanted to negotiate with me anymore. And then people that would never give me the time of day, that were actually rude to me in the past, were begging to get on my calendar. And sure enough, when something happened in the space, the media called me because I was the only Yahoo in the area who wrote a book.
Oh, wow.
So that was very powerful.
And now, and now you're the author of 12 books. So
that's right.
What are some of the topics?
Well, the first two were based on my banking business. So the first book was traditionally published. Now, my second book, I ended up developing such a good rapport and relationship with Jay, we ended up co-authoring a book called Guerrilla Marketing for Mortgage Brokers. And that one was also traditionally published, but it was also not a very fun process. My third and fourth book, I decided to self-publish because I figured, now that I know what I'm doing, which is a very careful, a very dangerous thing to say, be careful when you're saying it. So I self-published two books, one on creating income opportunities with affiliate programs. It was called the Affiliate Cash Flow Marketing or something like that. And the other one was about how to make money on eBay because I was discovering eBay. So I ended up self-publishing two books, which was wonderful because I really loved being in complete control of everything, but nobody cared. Now, I am a huge fan over self-publishing over doing nothing at all, and self-publishing has come a long ways in the years. So, today it's really a good thing. But I realized that I loved and hated things about the traditional publishing world, and I realized I loved and hated the things about the self-publishing world. So I kind of thought to myself, one day somebody should create a program or a publishing house that kind of blended the two, and I never did anything else with it. It wasn't until about late 2002 that I found myself in a position that my wife called out, that I was actually working my day job as a banker, very, very successful, but spending maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours a day on that business, and then the other 23 hours a day trying to help friends and clients get their books published because I found a new passion. When those first two books came out, I realized, wow, Jay was right. These are powerful tools. They're the most impactful guerrilla marketing weapon that an entrepreneur can have. I just really became this chief evangelist for the power of a book.
Absolutely.
But it was all consuming, and I was having so much fun. But my wife finally cornered me, and she said, David, we have to talk. Now, this is the same girl that I was chasing in high school, so we've got a good long time together. But when she says we have to talk, I knew I was in trouble. It's never a conversation that you want to have with your significant other when they say, we have to talk. So she laid it out for me. She said, David, you're working 2 full-time jobs, in essence, and only getting paid for one. Because I was working a little bit in the banking and a lot in the publishing, and it was just because it was fun. She said, something's got to change. I'm never seeing you. We got 2 small kids now. There has to be a change. I'm either going to leave you, I'm going to find a boyfriend, or we got to make a change. So needless to say, good motivation. So I obviously didn't like option 1 and 2. The old school. I didn't like door number 1 or door number 2. So I said, okay, let's talk. Let's talk about a change. So we sat down and realized that I had a really good idea, and I was trying to figure this out. And we talked about maybe let's start our own publishing house and see if we can, from a more organized perspective, and build balance in from the start. See if we can actually blend the best of both worlds. Well, that was 2003. Now, 11 years later, actually, was it a little over 11? Over 11 years later, this is kind of where we grow. We've kind of built into this entrepreneurial publishing house, focusing primarily on the entrepreneur behind the authors and figuring out ways that they can leverage the books to reach their goals and their missions. And we've been just having a lot of fun. Since the beginning, we've ended up figuring out who we are in the space and ended up gaining bookstore distribution, and we've had 19 listings on the New York Times bestseller list ever since then. So a lot of neat things. You can definitely see where God has a sense of humor guiding us down this path, but it's been a lot of fun. And then my more recent books were, one was called The Entrepreneurial Author, which is all about the entrepreneur behind the author. That one was also co-authored by Jay Levinson. And we did Guerrilla Marketing for Writers, also co-authored by Jay Levinson and Rick Frischman and Michael Larson, one of the nation's top literary agents. And then my most recent book, which actually came out yesterday, is a book called Performance Driven Thinking. It's all about recognizing. I know, right? I appreciate you guys.
To have you on the day after your book came out. That's exciting.
It's an honor, man. I'll tell you what. So it gets in your blood when you start writing books, especially when you can really see people being affected, and it's just so much fun. That may have been a really long answer to your question, but what was the question again?
Well, actually, it was how you founded Morgan James Publishing, which was, and we brought up your 12 books, but you really covered it, concisely and in depth. So, it was a great answer to really two questions. And you actually sort of answered a question I was going to ask you, who should write a book? Because I'm hearing almost anyone that has an entrepreneurial goal, but for its aspiring authors, what advice can you give them in terms of, I guess, from the entrepreneurial viewpoint that, you've been down these stairs, don't try this one, but take door C?
Oh, yeah. Well, my biggest advice would be to encourage them to do it. Don't necessarily think about the big, giant picture in the early stages. Don't think about the entire book. Think about just the pieces that you want to make sure people get out of it and finish the book. Don't worry about publishing yet. We'll worry about those details later. We want you to finish it. And then ultimately, once the book is done, you really need to be thinking about ways that you can leverage the book. So if you're wondering, well, what book should I write? I'd like to do this. I'd like to do this. I have a passion on this. I would always say start with whichever book can increase your position wherever you are right now. So for me, I wrote the book that could help me, raise my position in my banking business and earn more money. So I'm a big fan of earning more money. So I always encourage authors to start with a project or book that they can leverage to grow their marketplace or give them the authority to do what they're doing or open more doors. And then also part of that advice is be thinking about 2 more products ahead. So when you're writing the book, think about 2 other products, whether it's 2 more books or whether it's a speaking opportunity or workshops that go along with the book. Always be thinking about additional resources that your readers will demand from you once they start to know, love, and trust you. But ultimately, do it. Don't get discouraged. Just press forward.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And it's coming from the creative mind that I have. One of my problems was I came up with too many additional products. Really, the people came out of the woodworks talking about the need that they have. How can you help aspiring or those authors that get that first book out sort of narrow down the focus? I know this wasn't a question on there, but
that's all right. It's a really good question, and it is a tough one. So if someone's struggling with it, recognize that we've all been there. Always be thinking about what else you could do down there. But in the early days, you want to try to make each project as successful as possible. So focus on the one that can give you the biggest bang for your time right now, whether it's more income or more opportunity, and then focus on what you can do to support that with the additional products. I'll give you an example. Performance-driven thinking is a book that we put together. My co-author is Bobby Kipper. Phenomenal book. Best one ever written, of course. But did I say that out loud? I'm sorry.
Yes, you did. The last one is the best one.
That's right.
Well, you should. Yeah.
Our two products. That's right. Our 2 products ahead were a performance-driven academy, which is a very interactive membership site where on a weekly basis we'll be coaching fellow performance-driven thinkers about their business. We'll be giving them additional content. We'll be coaching them. We'll be doing interviews with other performance-driven thinkers, and it's our performance-driven academy. And so it's an online membership relationship community that we want to help see other performers grow. And then the other one was a workshop. We're actually doing performance-driven mastermind groups where once a month we're gathering 12 performance-driven thinkers to sit around the table and talk about each other's business and see how we can help each other grow and break the barriers and find that next piece in our business or our lives that can take us to the next level. And so those purposely all came out, this month. And then, of course, beyond that, we're looking at other performance-driven thinking brands, whether it's performance-driven Christian or whether it's performance-driven leaders or something along those lines, we're thinking about the big pictures. But to answer your question, focus on the one project and things that are related to the project. Once you get that fleshed out, then of course be thinking about the next season. Maybe other books, it could be different, but just kind of master what you've got and make sure that the community has it, and you'll want to support it forever for as long as it's important to you, but just take a look at it from those steps.
Wow. Well, it's so amazing what you created from, that just that inspiration, breaking free of your banking job and taking this on. And one of your accolades includes NASDAQ citing you as one of the world's most prestigious business leaders and reported to be the future of publishing. That's amazing. Give us some insight in what's happening in the ebook versus print world.
Oh, absolutely, and I appreciate that. And NASDAQ was so much fun. That was 2008, December 17th of 2008. We were actually invited to ring the opening bell. We're a private company, but they invited us to ring the opening bell, and you won't be surprised, but you'll be amazed to hear why. It was because of our philanthropy. It was because of what we were doing in the space to give back. And I know we're going to talk about that some today, but we had published a book called Do Your Giving While You Are Living by Robin Spiesman and Edith. Oh my gosh, she's going to kill me. The other young lady who's wonderful. And it was all a book about creating.
I'll post it on the Facebook page, so don't worry.
Thank you. It's a phenomenal book about giving back. And with our Habitat connection, they just thought it was a perfect opportunity to kind of focus on it. So that was an honor, absolute honor. And everything's changing. Ebook. Great question on the ebooks. Ebooks are becoming a very powerful force, but it's coming and going and coming and going. It's amazing to kind of see the ebb and tide with the ebooks. For fiction, right now about 50% of all book sales in fiction tend to be on an ebook device. So it hasn't taken over. It's kind of leveled off to be pretty consistent. Now, in some genres, the ebook has completely taken over the genres, like the mass market paperback. Those little small, fat paperbacks, romance novels, and kind of stuff like that. Those have all but gone away and gone to the ebooks. But generally, the general trade fiction is about 50% ebook, 50% print, which is pretty exciting. And then on the nonfiction side, it's about 25%, with a few exceptions, but 25% of all book sales, print sales, have migrated to ebook. But unlike the fiction side, where it may have taken over or replaced, it seems to be supporting. It's really interesting. The ebook, the more sales we see in an ebook, the corresponding print book ends up selling better. So they kind of go hand in hand. It's very exciting to watch. But the landscape is changing. Yeah, the landscape is definitely changing. It's exciting because the ebooks can be interactive, they can be quick, and we're even finding we can release ebooks early without upsetting the apple cart with the physical bookstore's distribution of the physical book. So it's just kind of the wild, wild west, but it's been fun. It's definitely something we're definitely embracing.
And that's great to hear because I like holding books, so glad the print world is still staying around. But in terms of self-publishing, you mentioned it before. You were a self-publisher, and some people are really looking at that, and it's a hot topic in some of the circles that I'm going into. But what do you think about the self-publishing, and what are some of the pitfalls, maybe?
It's a really great question, and like I said before, I'm a huge fan of self-publishing over doing nothing at all. The biggest pitfall is you just have to really pay attention. When we opened our doors in the early days, we had no clue who we were going to be. We've kind of grew into our own little niche and our own little genres that we like, and now we're recognized by the trade as being one of the top traditional New York houses. But we have a very entrepreneurial flair, and there's a lot of things that we do that kind of mirror the self-publishing world. It's just so exciting. But yet we still have that credibility and that distribution into the stores. But self-publishing is very powerful. You can create lots of opportunities. You can have great online distribution and be respected today, which is amazing, because just 5 years ago it was still looked down upon. That has absolutely changed. It's so much fun to watch. But it is a minefield. Self-publishing resources are popping up all over the place. Even some companies that have massive name recognition are getting behind the self-publishing craze, but yet they're charging tremendous amount of fees and not providing a whole lot of value. They're seeing it as a way to increase their bottom line or cover up all their mistakes that they're still making in the traditional world by offsetting it by all the fees they can get from an author on the self-publishing side. So just tread carefully, but also don't don't be too narrow-minded to think that you might be able to do it all with one company. For instance, everybody's heard of CreateSpace. CreateSpace is a phenomenal, affordable way to get your message out and quickly in a decent product. But don't forget, the Amazon still only represents about 25 or less % of the overall book world. So even for us, they represent less than 25% of our sales. That means 75% of our sales go someplace else. So think on a larger market. So I would encourage authors to follow that path, write a good quality book. No amount of marketing or shine or cover or smiles on the author's face can overcome a poorly written book. So make sure you spend good time on the book, and then just choose your service provider carefully, or if you do it yourself, just make sure the people that you're working with have got a great reputation, you're getting exactly what you want, and don't be too quick to spend money on things that you don't know what's going to happen. I would even recommend somebody just go, sign up with an Ingram Spark account, where you can kind of self-publish your own book affordably, have great availability, but not be sold a bunch of services that you may or may not need.
Right, right, absolutely.
This is such great information. We're just going to take a really quick commercial break, and we'll be back with David Hancock in just a minute.
Hey, are you a small business owner like me who wants to make a charitable contribution and needs easy access to charitable giving sources that you can automate for your business for free? Then I invite you to visit www.credit-cares.com. They have charitable giving options using their innovative merchant platform that helps nonprofits raise money and helps merchants make contributions at no additional cost to them using the products and services of Electronic Commerce International. Our giving options are easy to set up for small business. So if you have a business entity, we can donate in your business name. Go to www.credit-cares.com and see how you can make a difference every day by doing what you already do. Go to www.credit-cares.com and fill out the form or call 855-782-2737 for more information on how your business can be a difference maker in your community.
Well, welcome back, and it is time for the Philantrepreneur Show Tip of the Day. Every show we like to offer a tidbit of news or advice for our entrepreneurs and nonprofits, and today's tip is for both. What is your message? A huge part of distinguishing yourself is your message. How is it positioned? Is it an EMS, education-based marketing strategy? We are here to solve a problem, so gain more. We are here, to solve a problem, so gain more value by teaching in the process. Review your message. Are you teaching? Victoria?
Yes, thank you, Heidi. The Philantrepreneur is dedicated to your success. 7 great resources, all in one location to support business and community. The Hub, Forum, Institute, Calendar, Learning Library, this show and journal right at your fingertips. Would you like marketing exposure and have community impact? Ads for a Cause, designed to let nonprofits benefit from your marketing efforts. Available in traditional graphic ads, audio, video, and radio spots to get the best value in the marketplace. The journal's digital publication and radio show reach is constantly expanding, and we have a national audience currently of over 15,000 viewers. Select both mediums for maximum exposure and have marketing tools to send, post, or share, significantly increasing your own reach with us doing all the work. Contact us today to get your ad started. Are you a charity and want to be included? Visit the website for all the details. That's The Philantrepreneur, Philantrepreneur.com, and click the Journal Marketing Ads tab today.
Well, welcome back, our special guest, David Hancock, founder of Morgan James Publishing and distinguished author and philantrepreneur. David, I've noticed on every Morgan James book on the back cover is a Habitat for Humanity logo. That's great messaging. How did that come about?
Oh, that's a really good question, and I appreciate you noticing. We're a big fan of giving back. I've always been that way, And to kind of back up my story a little bit more, before I was a banker, I was actually a home builder. And it's really got a great story. I'll go back to birth one day on a future show, but it's really fun. But
how old are you, David?
I know, right? I'm only 40. I'm only 40 something.
Okay.
But I told you God has a sense of humor, and He hasn't spared any moments
Yes.
for me. That's for sure. But I was a builder, and one of the things that I enjoyed doing was seeing lives and communities be changed by the power of home ownership, and that's ended up how I ended up becoming a banker. I was actually a mortgage banker, and I realized early on, from a guerrilla marketing perspective and a business perspective, giving back is a good thing to do. I mean, we tithe as individuals, and I always think a company has a corporate responsibility to do things similar. And I had a passion for home ownership, so Habitat was a perfect opportunity for me to try to give back and create change. So we have lots of fun with it. So we give 1% of all of our proceeds to Habitat. And we also donate a small library of books to each new homeowner. And I'm blessed to actually be on the board. I'm president of the executive board in the southeastern Virginia communities. It's a lot of fun, but it really was just designed for us to give back and support the community and the people that we were trying to help. It's really been it's been amazing. The relationship has grown, and we started I think in 2005, just a couple years after we opened the publishing house. And I realized from my teaching from Jay Levinson and the Guerrilla Marketing team that if there are two identical companies, this is something really good to take home with the listeners. Two identical companies or entrepreneurs selling identical products for identical prices, exact same quality, everything's the exact same. The consumer would choose the one that has a visible giving back program 90% more than they would the company that did not have it. And I knew that going into it. I knew that it would be beneficial for us, but I wanted to just give back. The reality was I think we've gotten a lot more out of the relationship than they ever had. We built 3 houses this year in our community, but yet I still think that we're getting the better end of the deal because of the opportunity that's been given to us. But it's so much fun.
But that you are hitting on to the core of what Heidi and I totally believe. It was the foundation of why this entire radio show, the whole concept of the Philantrepreneur, what we both do in our businesses. If you notice the ads for a cause, it's about, yes, we're soliciting for ads, but we're going to give back in terms of what we bring in back to the community. And that is one real thing that really caught my attention about Morgan James Publishing, because I've been in the nonprofit sector for let's say many years. Well, it's over 40 years, but and I teach nonprofit management, and my company is based on nonprofit management and development. So you basing your company and really making and intertwining your branding and message with a community cause is what we're all about, and that's why we are really proud to really call you a Philantrepreneur. You have the entrepreneur's interest truly in your heart. We can feel it. Well, I can feel it. And you have the whole philanthropy consciousness front and center in everything you do, and that's what we're encouraging entrepreneurs and nonprofits to look at those bridges, to look at how they can work together consistently to have community impact. And I believe you sort of answered what was going to be my next question, that it's had a huge beneficial impact on your business's bottom line. So if you had to talk to an entrepreneur today and they're just starting out, what would be maybe a key step you would say that is important, beyond maybe the marketing message?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, absolutely. In fact, you're right. It has had a tremendous impact on our bottom line, even in ways that we never expected. I'll give you a quick example. We were hearing back from our bookstore sales team that bookstores were giving us an opportunity, an unknown publisher, and oftentimes with an unknown author, they were giving us an opportunity in their bookstore because they saw us building houses down the street from their bookstore. Now, the reality was we weren't, but Habitat was, but that connection gave them the warm and fuzzy to go ahead and make that decision. Now, obviously, we had to prove ourselves with sales and author activity, but those opportunities were given to us because of that, and we continued to gain additional exposure because of it, so it's very powerful. But for the rest of us, I think we just need to recognize that it is a good thing to do, and we should. So just like you, Tithe, in your personal world, you should always come up with a plan of action of trying to give back. Now, I'm not saying reach into your bank account and just start giving it away. Figure out ways that you can build it in. Make sure it makes sense. Mm-hmm. For us, I couldn't afford to write a check for a house back when we first started, but I could say I could carve off a small percentage of what we've got coming in and commit to it. So think about easy ways that you can mm-hmm. create it. So you could create special products or special bundles that has a benefit of a nonprofit, or do something. They're not only looking for money, they're looking for exposure. They're looking for awareness mm-hmm. just as much as they're money in certain cases. So I think that's something that you could definitely do. And also pick a charity that means something. So for me, my charity choice was, it had a history with me. I had built homes. Right. I was familiar with Habitat. I loved home. I still love home ownership. So it meant something to me. So I would say first and foremost, try to find something that you can give back that you can resonate with. And then if you have the ability to make some choices, find one that doesn't necessarily alienate your general public. Always support the charities that you want to, but maybe the one that you focus for your business might be one that doesn't create too much of a controversial. So, support a cause that, quote unquote, everybody can appreciate. So something like that. So you want to be very careful from a business perspective, not to, close the door on half your audience because you're supporting something. I don't mean not support those things, but maybe the one from your public perspective, support one.
Well,
pretty benign.
And you always need to have your business in mind when you're making and creating partnerships and relationships. There has to be some alignment. I teach that to my nonprofits, and even with Heidi, with her Credit Cares and her Foster Foundation, it's her passion, but she's aligned Credit Cares with her business. A great representation of how we've intertwined it into what we're doing. Entrepreneurs and nonprofits, if you don't gain but one thing from today's show, is first you need to tell your story, and writing a book is one of the most powerful methods. He said that David has said that over and over again. And how you can use it has endless possibilities. David, I really want to thank you for agreeing to be on our show. And I'm sure we have listeners out there that want to learn more and explore being an author. So what are some of the next steps, and where can they find Morgan James Publishing?
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. We're on the web and through social media. You can definitely find us really easy, but you can go to morganjamespublishing.com, see all the wonderful titles and authors that we're supporting. You can even compare us on how we look to more traditional publishers and even the self-publishing market. And then I'd be honored to take a look at your manuscript or your proposal or even your ideas. You can just scroll to the bottom of the page and click on Submit Your Book Proposal, and you can just spend some time with us, and we'll see if we can help you down the path. One thing that we do commit in our world in publishing is we always want to help the authors find their right path. We hope it's with us. It's not always, but we want to help them find their right path. So we'll encourage them, to seek out the ways that might be best for them, and I'm hoping it might be us.
Absolutely. I can give you the hands up and thumbs up and all of those good things. Go to Morgan James Publishing. Definitely.
Thank you.
Well, yeah, David, thank you so much for being on the show. You've been a lot of fun and extremely informative, and your passion and your sincerity come through just completely in your speaking, and I just love listening to you. And if anybody else out there would like to be a guest on our show and have a great project to share, to tell us how you are a philantrepreneur, drop us a note at thephilantrepreneur.com. Our 2014 schedule is filling up fast, so reach out as soon as you can, and just go to www.thephilantrepreneur.com and just send us a note. Let us know that you want to be on the show.
Well, it's been another great show, Heidi. This is Victoria Boyd and Heidi
Anderson.
That's right. Saying thank you for joining us. Mark your calendar. Join us on the first Wednesday in February. That's February 5th, and we will be welcoming Diane Conklin. She's president of Complete Marketing, systems. And she will be talking about the 5 keys to business success and her own foundation. So thank you for joining us, and see you next time.
Thank you for tuning in to the Philantrepreneur Radio Show, hosted by Dr. Victoria Boyd. Get involved. Follow us on Facebook and other social media outlets. If you wish to share comments or suggestions or appear as a guest on our show, visit www.thephilantrepreneur.com. Contact Victoria Boyd. Email her at theboyd@thephilantrepreneur.com. The Philantrepreneur Radio Show is a production of and sponsored by the Philantrepreneur Foundation, a 501c3 tax-deductible organization.